Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Mvunganyi. This week we've got an exciting lineup for you. The Venice Biennale makes history with a groundbreaking new curator, and Notre Dame Cathedral, one of the most iconic landmarks in the world, has reopened its doors. We also sit down with the writers of The Contemporary African Kitchen, a fresh new cookbook showcasing African flavors. All that and more right here on the red carpet. Let's get started. For the first time, the Venice Biennale has appointed an African-born woman as its curator. Koyo Kua, executive director of a leading contemporary art museum in Cape Town, has been a trailblazer in promoting African art globally, as highlighted by ArtNet. Her selection to lead the 2026 edition came as an unexpected but exciting announcement. The Venice Biennale is one of the world's most prestigious cultural events, held every 2 years in Venice, Italy. The Golden Globe nominations have been announced. Mindy Kaling and Maurice Chestnut revealed the nominees for the 82nd Annual Awards. Emilia Perez dominated the film categories with 10 nominations. On the TV side, The Bear led with 5 nominations, followed by Shogun and Only Murders in the Building with 4 each. Notably, Ariana Grande earned recognition for Wicked, and Selena Gomez was honored for both Emilia Perez and Only Murders in the Building. Notre Dame Cathedral, one of the world's most iconic buildings, reopened its doors on December the 7th, more than 5 years after the devastating fire that ravaged its roof. The event was attended by dignitaries, including heads of states from around the world. During the opening ceremony, Beninese superstar Angelique Kidjo sang a rendition of Master Keji's Jerusalema, the global hit that captivated global audiences and inspired its own viral dance routine. African food traditions, shaped by centuries of farming, migration, and culture, are as diverse as the continent itself. From grains and veggies to spices and proteins, the flavors are endless. In the new cookbook, The Contemporary African Kitchen, James Beard Award-winning chef Alexander Smalls celebrates this richness with 120 recipes from leading chefs driving Africa's modern food scene. Let's check it out. World-acclaimed chef and restaurateur Alexander Smalls grew up in South Carolina's Gula Geechee country along the state's coast. He says that this community, often considered the most culturally connected to the African continent in the U.S., deeply shaped his passion and perspective on food.
So much of my young life was spent with oral history about West Africa, the Gullah Geechee people, and the ancestors. So fast forward, after an operatic career and traveling throughout the world, one of the things I noticed is that we as Black people were not in the culinary conversations, etc. I mean, our food was just not considered worthy to be embraced.
To be spoken of.
Absolutely. And so when I decided that I was no longer going to pursue a career in classical music, I decided I was going to open the first fine dining African-American restaurant. And so I did. In the early 90s, I brought the food of the Gullah Geechee people to New York, and I created a culinary expression that was fine dining with wine pairing and all this stuff, and people thought I had lost my mind. You know, I say to young chefs all the time, the reason I was able to do that is because I owned. And so through all the naysayers, and all of which were not other than African Americans, because African American people thought I'd lost my mind. But I set out to do this thing, which was a tremendous success, but it laid the foundation, because after 3 restaurants based on Gullah Geechee culture, I started to think about where did this start?
Where it came from.
The connection. And then I took 10 years off traveled the transatlantic slave trade, the Far East Indian Ocean slave trade into India, China, and Asia. And I understood that the footprint of African people were basically on 5 continents. And so I created a culinary discipline that was built on through slavery.
Tracing those different
Absolutely. How through slavery, Africa changed the global culinary conversation.
The book's co-author and founder of Dine Diaspora, Nina Oduro, says that the book tells the stories of chefs who are demystifying African food and reinventing African cuisine for a global audience.
So, these chefs had to have concepts of their own. They're not just, in and out of Africa, and elsewhere, but they're actually entrenched in the communities that they're from, doing some kind of culinary work. So that was a big criteria for this book that I would add to Alexander's. And then you asked about demystifying, repeat that
Some
question.
of the misconceptions that will be demystified by this book.
I think there's some that will be demystified, certainly, but there's some that I think people just have gaps in knowledge. And this book will do more of that because what we believe is that the people featured in this book are already demystifying. Every day they're sharing their recipes. Every day they're sharing a lot of the works that they're passionate about through food. So they're already doing this work. What this book does is fill some of the gaps about recipes that people may not know of, but it doesn't entrench Africa into just a box, right? It shares with you that there's many, many, many foods, many, many dishes across the continent, and there's many people behind that food. And they're doing incredible work to shape how you view it and how you taste it and how you experience it. Yeah.
In New York City, where some communities have limited access to fresh produce, a unique classroom program is teaching students how to grow their own food and improve their eating habits. Aaron Rannan has more on how gardening is shaping healthier futures for kids.
This is Brownsville, a neighborhood in New York City where poverty and limited access to nutritious food contribute to health problems like diabetes. But at this local middle school, the nonprofit New York Sunworks is tackling these challenges through indoor gardening classes that promote healthier eating habits and sustainable ways to provide fresh produce to the community.
So we're in 350 public schools. That is 350 farms in the 5 boroughs of New York. That is 120,000 kids that learn science through farming, from seed to harvest. There's a special connection when you grow your own food. The food is so delicious because it's absolutely fresh.
For many of these students, this is their first time planting and watching their own food grow. The hands-on experience helps connect them to healthier eating habits.
It helped me decide what to eat because before I used to eat like pizza and chicken nuggets, but that didn't really have vegetables, so now I eat salads.
I noticed that before I ate junk food and like not really healthy, but now I realized that healthy food has more nutrients in it than junk food. Junk food doesn't really like help me that much, and healthy food gives me more energy.
The program is particularly impactful in low-income neighborhoods where access to fresh produce is often limited.
98% of our students live below poverty level and they do not have access to fresh fruits daily. We definitely see students who have diabetes or other food-related illnesses because they don't have access to vegetables and fruits.
By bringing agriculture directly into the classroom, these programs are teaching kids not only how to grow their own food, but also how to make healthier choices that last a lifetime.
Closer that kids get to seeing where food comes from and growing it and nurturing it and taking care and compassion for how food is grown, that translates into impacting what they're eating and their habits so that maybe they won't end up like their grandparents or their family members who are having to live with diabetes.
Once the growing cycle is complete, these students harvest the fruits of their work.
The Harvest program is part of the curriculum, and that happens when the students harvest hundreds of pounds of vegetables they grow in the classroom and they bring it home. So it is an additional connection, an additional joy to connect the classroom with home.
As programs like New York Sunworks expand across city classrooms, they're planting the seeds of healthier future generations. Aaron Rainin, VOA News, New York City.
In Kenya, tech entrepreneurs who had trouble accessing resources as simple as an internet connection are getting an assist from American libraries. The U.S. Embassy in Kenya is now operating 6 tech hubs, the newest of which opened in Nairobi last month. Victoria Amunga reports from the Kenyan capital.
Kevin Apodo's efforts to find spaces to develop his programs and skills for human capital consultancy business were futile for years. Apodo says the costs were out of his reach.
I would say it wasn't easy getting a space. Sometimes maybe you're required to rent or to pay or to go to a hotel, and that would be so expensive.
At the American Corner, a hub designed to provide innovators and entrepreneurs with infrastructure and training, Apodo says he found the help he needed.
They act like resource centers, a place where I could just walk in, or I can just walk in and get maybe access to a laptop or free internet or a space to do a program if I have,
6 hubs dubbed American Corner Mtaani, meaning streets in Swahili, have been set up in Kenya, including one at the Kenya National Library Service that opened November 4th.
We have different grant initiatives that we work towards. So right now, this past year, we had an inclusive fashion grant where people got together to figure out how do you make fashion inclusive for persons living with disability, as well as we had a film FUPI grant where people were taught how to create short films in their communities.
Experts say a shortage of resources and limited access to funding faced by aspiring tech entrepreneurs in Africa is killing many dreams. Andrew Fasnij is director of the African Tech Summit, a gathering that connects tech startups, corporations, and investors. Fasnij says initiatives that assist Kenyan tech entrepreneurs can pay off for both Kenya and the United States.
When you bring it back to this linkage with the USA Embassy, if that can help bridge the USA and Africa and Kenya or Nigeria or Egypt or whichever market it is, that's massive, because sometimes maybe the technology transfer needs a slight partnership or an introduction.
Government data shows about 20% of Kenyan workers under age 35 were unemployed at the end of 2022.
If you teach a person how to fish, they can feed themselves better than give them fish. So the relationship we have with America, which goes into supporting a startup company and entrepreneurship environment and creating a structure and education system is what will answer the strategic direction that Kenya needs to be.
Kenya's Mombasa, Lamu, and Nakuru counties are among other locations hosting the American Corners. Officials hope that such initiatives will help to bring more young people's innovations to life. Victoria Amunga, VOA News, Nairobi.
Thank you for watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Mvunganyi. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voaafrica.com. We are also on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. Until next time, goodbye everyone.